Welcome to the Driven Moms Answering Adversity interview series, stories of success through setbacks from Mom Elevated. Together, we can shine a light on how normal challenges and struggles are, along with how we can overcome and rise above them. Today, we have Darla here to share her story with us. I'm so excited to dive into this one. So, Darla, if you don't mind, would you like to get us started with a little bit briefly of your story and what you want to share?
Yes. So, hi, I'm Dr. Darla Bishop, and I am a military spouse, mom of two, and author. Our most recent project is something I actually got to do with my 6-year-old daughter called Madeline's Money Adventure. And so it was really cool to see her as a 6-year-old get excited about it and have lots of opinions about how we did things and how we do things to spread the word. And it's super cool to see your kids just kind of like bloom. But I have been a financial wellness advocate and educator for a couple of decades, partially because of my own money story. There were so many things that happened in my life as a teenager, as a young adult, that I remember this constant feeling of these things wouldn't be problems if we just had more money. And so when I went to college, I actually did a side study of money. I read more than 100 books over the last 20 years about money, and a couple of years ago finally made the space to write my own, and that is how to afford everything was born. It was born out of being frustrated because it shouldn't take 100 books, it shouldn't take 20 books, it shouldn't take even 10, right? And also being frustrated that not only it took so many books, but there was still a gap, that there were two really important things missing for me as someone who in some ways was charting my own path, but in other ways following in the footsteps of the women and men who came before me, of like, you know, the the consistent and constant talk about, when you're getting your own financial situation together, you cut everybody off. No one gets to borrow, no one gets to use, no one gets gifts. Like, everybody's cut off until your financial situation is stable. And that just didn't work in my community. It didn't work in my family. It didn't work for me as how I like to show up in the world. And so I needed a way, and I was looking for a way to, okay, how can I do both? How can I build up my fortune, right? And my fortune is really just being able to like live my life, pay my bills, do fun things by myself or with my kids when they feel like hanging out with me. But also bring the people I love along with me and not have them completely cut off because I'm focused on a goal. How do I do both at the same time? The second thing that was missing for me is many of the money lessons we learn come from the adults around us, and they're often given to us as gifts, right? They're given to us as ways to protect us, as ways to explain how the world works. But depending on how you were raised, the way the world works for you might be super different than the way your parents experienced it. The career you go into, the education you have access to, the people or you end up in a family with because of who you marry, right? And so wanting to help people who are starting out or starting over with like, okay, where do I even start? Okay, start here, and then depending on a couple of things that might be happening in your life, go here or there. Like giving people a path to follow if they just weren't sure to start. So that's the story.
I love that. That's incredible. Also, I worked on an ebook with my daughter who's 7 just this year as well. And it is so fun to see their imagination at work when they get to make some of the decisions or call some of the shots and what they choose. Did your daughter also get to like help with the images and what that looked like as an overall book as well?
Yes, absolutely. So she had lots of strong opinions about how she wanted to look, about how the unicorn could look. The story follows her. Um, if you open the story and you find us in a store, and she's asked if she could get a unicorn stuffy, and I basically say no. And then, but she comes up with a plan on how she can earn the money so that she can get her own unicorn stuffy. So she had very clear ideas about how she wanted the unicorn to look. She had really clear ideas about how she wanted her brother to look and what he should be wearing in the book. And before we sent it to the illustrator for the final time, I had her read it aloud one last time. She said, "Oh no, we should say it this way." And then now that the book is out, she's been very clear about how she wants our photos to look. And we did a reading, and I was actually wearing the dress I'm wearing now at breakfast, and she said, "Mom, you need to change before you come to school to read my book." I was like, okay. She says, you need to wear the same dress I'm wearing because we have some matching dresses. And so I was like, all right. She said, so don't, and on her way out the door, she said, don't forget to change your dress so we can match.
I love that so
Yes.
much. But
Yeah.
also, what an incredible thing you're teaching her too along this way, and like the tools you're giving her for life. I think it's incredible to see that. What
Yeah, we're all going to be working for her soon.
Right, right, exactly. CEOs in the making for sure. What do you think is like the biggest adversity as you were building this, as you were growing this, while raising two kids? What adversity have you answered, like the biggest one that you would say? What was the pivotal moment, of the challenges that you had to answer, and how did you go about that?
It's really the burnout, right? Because it's wanting to do and be so many different things at the same time and needing to be so many different things at the same time. I work full time, I work part time. We have got the little kids. I'm a military spouse, and so we have some military obligations that I'm happy about them in case anyone's listening. I love our military obligations. Yay, America. Um, and but I also have this big vision for how we're going to teach everybody around us and people we'll never ever meet about money so that it can feel fun and good, and like remembering that there are still 24 hours in a day. And yes, I have the same 24 hours as Beyonce, but she's got a staff of at least 200.
Yeah, right.
And my staff is just, I myself am understaffed at this time.
Yes. Yes.
So that push and pull, I sometimes, when someone asks me this, I often say, honestly, I'm kind of the biggest adversary in that I'm a little impatient because I see it so clearly that I want it to happen now. I see us talking to groups. I see us in communities where they're healthy and thriving because of something they learned from something we put out into the world, right? I see it so clearly. And why isn't it here yet?
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you do to kind of like get yourself through that and say, okay, but patience is a virtue. We're gonna get there. I do see it. I know it's happening. I just have to keep, those wheels turning and keep doing the smaller engagements and getting the little pieces out there. How do you keep yourself motivated, I suppose, through that, but also just to know that that is on the horizon?
The thing that is most consistently helpful is doing like a retrospective or a review of how far we've come. Because I think we're always as ambitious women, as ambitious mom, as goal-oriented people, we think about what's next, what's coming up next, what are we going to do with the kids? We have to plan ahead. What's our plan for summer camp? Are we going on vacation for that holiday? Which parents are we visiting this year, right? Like we have to in some ways live in the future. And so we often forget to take a beat and be like, okay, I know that I want the business or my career or this thing in our household to be here, but haven't been giving myself the credit of how far we've come from even just a few weeks or a few months or a couple years ago, right? Like, so kind of pulling myself by the ear and be like, hey, 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 go look back a year and see how far you've come. Like that gain is so amazing. And don't disrespect yourself by forgetting to remember the gains.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. As an example, what can we celebrate today with you? Like, what is something to reflect on just to
Yeah, I'm just so excited. We got the book out. So here she is. Here's Madeline's Money Adventure.
I can't even I imagine that was a lot of back and forth just to get that ready and launched. I
Oh,
can
so much. We went through like we ended up going through two illustrators. Our first illustrator, who is an amazing artist, an amazing person, we just couldn't agree on the um, contract terms. We just couldn't get to the right because there was very specific language that my attorney, I have an attorney that I use for every once in a while to review contract and stuff because I expect to run a big business. And so I try to do things even when we're just starting out the way a big business might. So I have some fractional time from a bookkeeper. I have some fractional time from an attorney so that we can do those things right from the very beginning. And my attorney's like, you need stronger language for ownership and transfer and, exclusivity. And so I put all that in, and the artist just was not happy with it, and we couldn't get it together. And I was like, well, we just aren't, it's just not going to work for this project because Maddie already told me she has 3 books in her. She has 3 more books in her head. She has 3 more books in her head. And so I need to be able to use these characters over
Yeah.
and over again, right? So the paperwork has to tell me that I can do that. And so then I pivoted and we found another illustrator who already had the language I needed as part of their standard contract. So it all worked out. And even though we lost a few weeks, we were able to still release on schedule, and we self-published. So it was, again, a self-imposed deadline. Like
Yes.
nobody was telling me we had to have the book out by this time. But
Except
I said
your
it was going to be,
anxiety.
right. I said it was going to be out, so it needs to be out.
That's amazing. Yep, I know that very well. Oh, that's
Uh-huh.
great. So then, kind of similarly with that in mind, what do you think it is about entrepreneurs then that not only keep us going like that, but that makes us continue on when things get tough, when those challenges arise and we're like, ugh, when you could easily give up, go back to a 9 to 5, do whatever, and have that consistent income. What do you think it is about us that keeps us going when times get tough and we're like, "No, we're gonna get through this. We are going to release it at that time. We are going to find something that works for us." Like, what do you think it is?
It's because we know that there are 2 options. Either I'm going to figure it out or I'm going to figure it out. And those are the only 2 options, right? And
Yeah.
so I think part of it is like you have to be a little bit off your rocker to be an entrepreneur in the first place. In a lot of ways, it is easier to be someone's employee who your direct deposit is coming every other Friday or on the same day each month, even if you have to deal with coworker drama, boss drama. Like there is a level of ease with just working for someone else, right? So you got to be a little off your rocker to choose a different, harder. Like I work for myself, but I do all the jobs now.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I don't think I knew that part before. Maybe I would have made a different choice, right? I think the other piece too is like when you are an entrepreneur and you have that passion for something, like there's this story about Walt Disney where after they finally finished Magic Kingdom down in Florida, that his brother, one of the people said, "Oh my gosh, it's really unfortunate your brother isn't here to see this." And the brother said, he saw it in his brain, otherwise none of us would be here. Right? As an entrepreneur, we see it so clearly before anyone else can. And so it's almost like, well, I can't stop because the thing that's in my brain won't ever come into real life for other people to see it. And so this thing I've been talking about and dreaming about and building, if I don't finish it, no one will get it.
Yes. Yep. Oh, man, that's beautiful. I love that so much. What then would you say, what is one overall takeaway or lesson that you would want other mompreneurs to be able to use specifically from your experience? Any part of your experience.
I'm going to ask you to sit down and take a deep breath because I'm going to say something that might hurt your feelings. Outsource it. Outsource it. Find the money to outsource it because your kids will be served by a mom who is balanced and in some ways carefree. And if you are trying to do everything, there is no way for you to be balanced or carefree. And so think about the things in your life, the people, the places, the things, the tasks that use up your time, your energy, your money, because we're working with 3 currencies. We have 3 currencies that we're working with: time, energy, and money. And if there is something on that list of people, places, things, or tasks that drains your time, your energy, your money in an outsized way, figure out how else to get it done that doesn't involve you. And when I talk to moms, business owners, I think after a little while, they figure this out kind of quickly. But moms who are just starting out feel like they have to do everything, or like it's not okay to not do most of the things. And some of that messaging comes from the men and women who raised us, right? Like they just had a completely different life setup. So when we look to their example, it doesn't always match anyway. But that doesn't make us let go of the rules or the expectations that we think they have or that we have adopted for ourselves. And so, like, one of the most powerful things you can do is if you are feeling stretched thin most of the time, is to take an hour and make a list of all the things on your plate. And after you're pissed off, take a deep breath because anytime I have a mom do this, she's like, why is my list so long?
Yeah.
Right? But because we put it on paper, now you get to do the work, the exciting work of being like, congratulations, this is your job. Congratulations, this is something that actually I don't need to do because it's not the thing that keeps me housed, fed, free of jail, or married. Like, I actually don't have to do that today, maybe never, right? I can take that off the list. And then these things have to be done, but they don't have to be done by me. There might be a service, there might be another mom in your community that you can trade with, right? And like, I'm a military spouse, and so military spouses have a very hard time keeping employment. Like, we actually have a very high unemployment rate, like only 20% of military spouses are employed full time. And that doesn't even say anything about whether they like their career, whether they're in the career they thought they would be in. We just know that only 20% of spouses are actually employed full time, right? So that's a really small amount. And so that means that most of the military spouses, especially in military communities or on bases, are probably not working a whole lot. And so, how could I outsource? How could I get 2 hours free to have creative time? Trade, trade. Like, if you find the other mom that has 3 kids and you say, hey, for 2 hours this week, you get 6 kids. For 2 hours next week, I get 6 kids. And for those first few weeks, you might just stare at the wall, waiting for your soul and your sanity to return to you. But then after a couple, you'll be like, actually, I've got a little energy back. I will start to think about that project or that business or that thing that I've been not being able to put attention to. And then once you have your business started, you might be able to trade products or services for other things that you need in your business or in your life. And so it's not always money because, again, you have 3 currencies: the time, the energy, and the money. So which ones are being drained? Stop getting them drained, and then which ones could you leverage to get the things that you need in your life?
I also love that you said at first you might not have the ability to creatively think. Like that time, now that you have that space, it might just need to be there and be rest to replenish your energy. I love that you say that because that is so important. We always think, oh, we have some available space. Why can't I use it? Because you are now trying to recalibrate. So
Mhm.
I think that's so important to remember that our timeline is going to be a little different because we have those 3 currencies that we are having to look at and refuel. What's the first thing that you outsourced when you thought about it and was like, made your list and was like,
Cleaning sort a cleaning service, and we actually, my husband and I have been together for, oh gosh, 20 years. And we moved in together for the first time after we got engaged. And I remember probably a few months in, I was talking on the phone with my mom and I said, oh, the cleaning service will be here tomorrow. And my mom, I remember her going like, she kind of paused and said, who do you think you are? The Queen of Sheba? You can't clean your own house? And I said, Mom, I can absolutely clean my own house. In fact, I kind of clean better than the service. But when he moved in, we started fighting over the cleanliness of the house. And that is a dumb reason to fight. And guess what? My cleaning service is a lot cheaper than marriage counseling. And she said, you know what? I never thought about it like that. And she never bugged me again because it was one of those things where it was causing conflict and it was unnecessary conflict. And I found a cleaning service that was like, because our house was not very big. I think it was like $50. And I mean, these are $2010. So sorry, 2025. It's not that anymore.
right.
But like it was like $50 every 2 or 3 weeks. And I remember being like, hey, I noticed we've been fighting about how clean the house is, and this is a problem that money can solve. I found a cleaning service, and we use the his, hers, ours banking. So I was like, so you need to put $50 more per month in our bank account. He was like, wait, we can afford that. I was like, we absolutely can afford that. You need to put $50 more a month into the into the joint account so we can cover the cleaning service. So we've had a cleaning service for a super long time because it was one of those things where we had friction in our household. And I was like, for $100 a month, I'm gonna have a happy life.
It's gone. Yeah, that is so nice. That was the first thing I also invested in because it's funny how I always thought I would invest in my business before I invested in the house, but that took off so much from me. Again, I'm my husband worked out of state for 4 years, so he was gone, and with 3 littles, it was on me to do that and the business and all of our activities, and I was like, and it takes me I'm thorough, but it takes me a really long time to clean, so it was not a good use of my time. So
Right.
that was the first thing we invested in. The second thing was an accountant because although I have an accounting degree, I did not want to do it in my own business. Didn't want.
Yeah. And like, tax time can be the most wonderful time of the year or the most horrible time of the year. And I think honestly, the thing that makes a difference is whether you have a bookkeeper slash accountant. Because if they've been on you all year to keep things in order, then it's like, here's all the things that you had me keep in order all year. Call me when it's done.
Yeah, yeah. It's so nice. It's such less headache. I can't even amazing. Thank you for that takeaway because
I
I
have to tell you one more thing that
yes.
probably saved my life actually when we outsourced laundry. We had just had our second child, and I was really in the throes of postpartum depression. And like our house was just a mess, like just a mess, like so much so that we had this mountain of clothes, and I had two under two. So if it's a mountain of clothes and the babies are babies, imagine how many clothes that is, right? And
And
I didn't even realize it, but like when I walked past it, like at night to do feedings or to check on the baby, it kind of like made me feel like there was a monster in my house, right? And so I asked in our community Facebook group, like, hey, struggling mom here. You might remember me. I'm the one who had the baby on the couch. That's a story for a different day.
oh my goodness.
Baby's fine. Mom is struggling. Can somebody come wash my dishes and catch up my laundry? Like, I will pay you whatever you want. Like, if somebody could do that for me, I think I would just feel so much better. And the moms came in the comments, were so happy. I can come help. I can be there tomorrow. And one of the moms said, no, do not do the laundry. Get a bag or a basket, whatever. Pick up every piece of clothing in your house that isn't in a drawer or hung and take it to the laundromat over on the corner of such and such and such and such. They do it for $1 a pound. Just take it to them. And I was like, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. So I did. I bagged everything up and I took it, and it was 87 pounds of laundry. No wonder I felt so heavy. I literally had 87 pounds of laundry figuratively on me, right? And so I dropped it off, and the gentleman who checked me was so nice. Okay, this is your first time. I need some information. Do you want this kind of fabric softener? Can we use dryer sheets? Do you need sensitive soap? So I answer all the questions. I give him the money. He's like, okay, we'll call you when it's done. I was like, okay. So I leave. 2 hours later, 2 hours later, I get a phone call from the laundromat. I'm like, oh, there must be a problem. They go, oh, hi, Mrs. Bishop. This is Kevin from the laundromat. Hey, Kevin, everything okay? Yeah, your laundry's ready. My laundry is ready? Yeah, your laundry's ready. My laundry is ready. Yeah, it's ready. Well, I'm not ready to pick it up. Oh, don't worry. We don't close until 9, and it's not even an issue if you can't come until tomorrow. All right, thanks, Kevin. So they took care of that burden in 2 hours. That had been carrying around for weeks, weeks, weeks. So send the laundry out. Send the
Oh,
laundry out.
and release the guilt. Release the guilt from it because the pressure that you get off your shoulders from it is so much better.
So much better.
I wish we had, I don't know that we have a laundry service here. I'm sure there are some like other moms that would be willing to do it and whatnot, cleaning service wise, but I don't know that we actually have a laundry service here, but that's incredible.
Do you have a dry cleaner in town?
We used to, again, I don't even know if we have that. It closed at some point. It might have reopened, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because you can usually find laundry service if you're close to a university, because a university, there's some business that will come do laundry for students. And
Okay,
then dry cleaners will sometimes have the service. And so if laundry service is on your list, go to the Google, see
right.
if you have it.
I love it.
Said, find another mom, because there are some moms or some single people who absolutely love folding laundry. I have a relative like this. She loves folding laundry. She doesn't
Right.
live close to her to come do mine, but if she did, she would get that money every week.
That's amazing. That's, back in the day when I used to breastfeed, I would make my own lactation cookies and stuff, and I love baking, so I would make it for other people as well. My friend was like, "Would you mind making me some?" I was like, "Yeah, what kind do you want? Like, what flavor? What's up? I'm happy to do that." So that's just use your resources is really the important part of that lesson right there. Can't even. It's huge, and it helps so much. I love that. Well, thank you for all of your wisdom. I know it was just a small tidbit of what you have to offer. What is the best way for others to find you if they want to be in your space, learn more about you, work with you, find your book, things like that? I
Yes.
have the links in the description too, but just in case.
Oh, thank you so much. It's easiest to find me at darlabishop.com/social. And it's slash social because it's a link in bio with all the things you can find without having to search in a bunch of places. So darlabishop.com/social.
I love that. Amazing. I'm for sure getting the book. I was already talking to you about how I was looking for some finance pieces for my kiddos, so I can't wait to dive into that. Thank you again so much for joining us today. I like to tell everybody that your story is not only inspirational, but your willingness to be open about it is very much appreciated and needed in this space, especially during this time. I think it's really important for other women to hear, and other moms especially, to hear that all of us struggle. We have all these things that we've had to overcome as well. You're not alone, and here are some ways that you can get through it yourself. So
Thank
thank
you so much for having me.
Absolutely, I'm so excited. And for those of you out there needing your own and facing your own adversity and needing your own support, know that you are not alone. When you need an extra hand or mind for brainstorming during your mompreneur journey, we would also love to work with you through the Mom Elevated Society, which now has the Gift Yourself Grace program, which is a quarterly reflection program. Very much enjoy it. It's so much fun. It's an acronym for goals, relationships, actions, connections, and expectations that we go over a week and reflect and shift. It's amazing. So you will find monthly check-ins for goal setting and assessing also, and so much more for both your business and your mom life. And until next time, keep shooting for the stars.